And it's quite easy to do this. For example, if you go for a P7 pinopod, the pinopod appear at P7, and you want a day 6 blastocyst to be at P7 endometrium, you will start the progesterone the same time with the ovum pickup, which is day 0 of the donor, and then you perform the embryo transfer usually on day 2. You can do here on day 3. The synchronization doesn't change, that doesn't depend on the embryonic day you will do the transfer. It depends when you start progesterone on the recipient, and so on. And we have very, very good results by this method. This is the first study we did with Alexandra Maternity Hospital here. And there is also some variations of the peak of the average of the pinopod appearance according to the cycles. We know that in IVF cycles they appear earlier, and this is maybe not so good news for the implantation outcome, because the embryo may be, on the contrary, may be retarded because of the in vivo conditions, in vitro. And in natural cycle, they peak on day 20 and 21, and in HRT cycle on day 21 and 22. Now, I will show you some cases with patients with repeated implantation failures and some findings we had in these patients. This is now, you see, it is an epithelium that appears normal, more or less, on progesterone day 6. But if you see well the morphology, it resembles more than this day 24 I showed you before with the dome-shaped and big cells. So I suspected to this patient there is an early progesterone rise. And in fact, the doctor monitored a next natural cycle, and he found on day 12, before ovulation, she had already 14 nanograms of serum progesterone level, which is enough high to start on the endometrium. That's why if we do HRT cycles in patients with active ovaries, I think it's a good idea to give a GnRH analog to stop the spontaneous ovarian activity, or at least to take a progesterone serum level before we start progesterone exogenously. This is a red blood cell here. Okay, another case now. This is an atrophic endometrium. This patient had a lot of some abortions before. And what we see here is this synechia, these adhesions. We see here adhesion. We see very flat endometrium, nothing to do with the previous photos. And also there are fissures here, which are the product of the dehydration, but exactly because there is scars behind, and the shrinking tissue cannot go as a whole, it breaks there at the lines of the adhesions, you see here. And it is very flat, the endometrium here, a little bit of ciliated cells here, and if you go here and see, the cells look more like fibroblasts than epithelial cells. It's a bad condition that it's not much to help. Okay, another patient now. What we see here is that there are too many ciliated cells. Normally, the ciliated cells, they are separated by secretory cells, as for example this one. But in many areas, we see a lot of ciliated cells, which is a sign of high estrogen levels. It is a hyperestrogenized endometrium. These red blood cells inside there, probably they didn't come from the process of biopsy, but they were there before. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, and this patient, we lower the estrogen doses, and she got pregnant. This is another patient which has also hyperestrogenized endometrium, but here we see big hypertrophic cells appearing. Yes, this is the 3D of this. You see, this cell is clearly hypertrophic. And in the same patient, other areas, we see the beginning of micropolyp formation. To give you an idea about the size, the cell is, as you see here, is around 5 microns each cell. So this is like one, it is, how many, maybe 100, not even 100 microns. It is like 0.1 millimeter. It's not visible by hysteroscopy, this. And here is beginning of polyp formation. You see here in bigger detail, it's smooth the surface. In the same patient, another polyp, micropolyp, which is, has a pendulum here. You see the surface is different from the other cells. And this patient, we did dilatation and curettage, but it was, the histology was normal, more or less normal, because the resolution of the optical microscope is not the same like the electronic microscope. Another patient here, we see a micropolyp again, and if we zoom in this area here, we see the micropolyp, and also we see thick mucus coming out from the gland containing some debris and maybe blood cells here. Yeah, this is a red blood cell. This is, I cannot zoom very much because I know the eyes get very tired. Yes, and other polyps in the same patient. You see, for example, this one or that one. She had many microscopic polyps, and the histology examination was negative also, but we did microbiological examinations, and we found chlamydial infection in this patient, and this is in keeping with this thick mucus here. And I think these polyps, they are more of like inflammatory origin. Yeah. Another patient now, this is also an interesting phenomenon. We see the biopsy piece, and the gland is coming out of the gland in a telescopic way. This phenomenon has been seen by the pathologist, but they consider it as an artifact due to the squeezing of the tissue because they examine sections. But here you see very clearly it's not any artifact, it's very real, this phenomenon. And if we zoom in here, for example, you will see that it's not only this, it is this one that has been broken, it is this one here. We see in bigger detail. And I'm sure you have seen these glands, because this is how it looks in the stereoscope, the biopsy piece, before I dehydrate it for scanning electron microscope. And I'm sure you have seen this in the hysteroscopy. In hysteroscopy, you must have seen this. I'll show you a hysteroscopy now. And if let's go to see better. I know where it is. Here, okay. Do you see all these white things there? They are like algae. Wait. Yeah. So these they have no vascularity and they don't bleed, and they let the hysteroscope easily pass through. I'm sure you have seen these figures, but anyway, let's go ahead now. Yeah. Okay. Another case now. Another case with hyperplastic endometrium. If we zoom in, you will see many very big cells here scattered around, which are clearly hypertrophic. There are also many ciliated cells. And yeah, let's see. In bigger magnification, you can see here that these cells are different in morphology, and the surface is also different. They have very short microvilli, and compared, for example, if you compare this area with this, is completely different, and probably the glucocalyx is also different in these cells. And in the same patient, we also see this telescopic phenomenon here, which I will suggest something about its origin later on. And we did dilatation and curettage to this patient, and she had simple hyperplasia. Now another case, if I have some more time, in 5 minutes I think I will be finishing. So this patient has a very thin endometrium, and in the biopsy what you immediately see here is that there is a dirty smear covering the cells, and there is a dirty mucus also coming out from the glands, which contains a lot of dead cells and debris, and this is a red blood cell here, and the other cells they are covered by a dirty smear, as you see here. And another aspect of the same patient, what we see here is cells that they are broken here, these cells, and they are degenerate, and you can tell by the smoothened surface, ballooning surface, and they have more like keratin ridges here than microvilli, and this is called squamous metaplasia when you see these keratin ridges. And I guess this is the result of the chronic inflammation due to this infection, because this patient had, after PCR amplification, we found she had chlamydial infection. And the patient received antibiotic, I think clarithromycin, for 18 days, and also the partner. And we repeated the biopsy, and it was negative for chlamydia. But when I looked the second biopsy, here I found that it's not completely clean, the endometrium, because if you see this area here, it's more or less normal. But if you go down here, you see there is a dirty smear again with the same appearance as the first biopsy, the first cycle. You see, it's only a little area here which is affected, and yeah, if you see in bigger magnification, it is again this dirty smear, which we also see. This is the second cycle after the treatment, but still she had a thick mucus, and here we see this gland opening here. We magnify. Sorry, And this is here a thick mucus, as we see, coming out from the gland. And if you zoom in this mucus, you see a lot of little particles which correspond to the size of the chlamydium, although you cannot really tell by the scanning that this is the chlamydium or any other microorganism infecting there. Finally, another patient, she had 3.2 millimeter thickness of endometrium, and the doctor gave a lot of estrogen to increase the thickness. Finally, I got biopsies from this patient, and we see here how the endometrium is damaged by the infection. It is clearly an infection, this with all this dirty smear, with the cell death, as we see these dying cells here. And if you see, she has also telescopic glands, as you see this one. And if you look a little bit around, you see that the endometrium is very much affected. There are many dead cells here, and deciliation, the cilia are destroyed, and you see these areas here. These are not pinopods; they are dying cells. That's it. And this is this is a red blood cell here. And if you see here, in bigger detail, this is a polymorphonuclear white blood cell, which is very characteristic of the infection. Okay, PCR amplification for microbial sequences was negative in this patient, but nevertheless, we gave her erythromycin, which is a more wider spectrum antibiotic, for 3 weeks, and now we wait for the next biopsies. So, to conclude, scanning electron microscopy can detect subtle endometrial abnormalities that usually escape conventional histology. And these abnormalities may be treated by modifications of HRT, antibiotics, and dilatation and curettage. I forgot to tell you here, but for this telescopic gland, I think that it is also infection is playing a role here. And what happens is that because of the infection has a very thin endometrium, the doctor gives a lot of estrogen, there is cell death because of the microbia, and so on, proliferation and damage. So modifications of HRT we can do, antibiotics if indicated, and dilatation and curettage if we see signs of hyperplasia. And I think that much lower doses of estradiol than usually used by the doctors can better prepare the endometrium for embryo transfer. I would like to acknowledge all these units I have collaborated with. The Alexandra Maternity Hospital with Dr. Loutradis, who started this works here in Greece, and then the infertility unit of the Hammersmith Hospital in London, Instituto Valenciano de Infertilidad in Spain, Family Federation of Finland, Helsinki, Jones Institute, we have done a lot of work there, IVF unit Huddinge Hospital at Karolinska, where I was working also, Genesis Athens, Locus Medicus, here we collaborate, and many other individual doctors, as I see Dr. Mandouvalos here, Dr. Sikoutris, Dr. Pichos, many others. And finally, I would like to acknowledge this Deutsche German Point Electronic for constructing a fantastic machine that gives me resolutions of up to 100 megapixels to these photos. And also my wife, Montserrat, who is taking care of my work, paint the photos, do the 3D and all this. Thank you very much.